This week's Torah portion is called Vayitze, which means "and he left." Yaakov must leave from his father's house in order to save his life. His mother Rivka sends him far away to her brother Lavan, where he will be safe from Esav's threat to kill him. Last week we discussed the question of whether this extreme situation could be a case of parental alienation. We discussed the possibility of the strain in the relationship between Esav and his mother as possibly a case of parental alienation. But what about Yaakov and his parents? Could this be a case of parental alienation? After all, Yaakov leaves both of his parents and embarks on a journey far away from home. There are a couple of problems with claiming that Yaakov suffers from parental alienation. Firstly, there's no indication that he fears or hates either of his parents, and parental alienation develops in children who fear or hate their parents. Secondly, even if one were to argue that there's a strain in the relationship between Yaakov and his father, there's no indication of a strain in his relationship with his mother, even though he leaves both of his parents. If, for the sake of argument, one were to claim that Yaakov refuses contact with either of his parents over favoritism, then it returns us to the discussion whether this is parental alienation or contact refusal. One might argue that refusing contact with a parent over favoritism is reasonable justification. Since no parent is perfect, this raises the question whether this reasonable justification rises to the level of contact refusal. If not, it's parental alienation. Last week we learned that there's 3 levels of parental alienation: mild, medium, and severe. How do we measure levels of severity? There are 8 signs of parental alienation: a campaign of denigration against a previously loved parent, weak, frivolous, and absurd rationalizations, lack of ambivalence about the alienating parent, the independent thinker phenomenon, absence of guilt about the treatment of the targeted parent, reflexive support for the alienating parent in parental conflict, presence of borrowed scenarios, rejection of extended family. Mild parental alienation manifests when there's a few of these signs. Medium parental alienation manifests when there's about half of these signs. Severe parental alienation manifests when there's most or all of these signs. So how many of these signs are there in Yaakov's case? Yaakov settles in Lavan's house for 22 years. Lavan has 2 daughters, Leah and Rachel. Yaakov immediately falls in love with Rachel. According to Jewish tradition, Rachel was supposed to be Yaakov's soulmate, while Leah was supposed to be Esav's soulmate. However, Esav abandoned his birthright and married other women. So then Lavan tricks Yaakov into marrying Leah, even though Rachel was supposed to be his true wife. And the true firstborn to Yaakov was supposed to be the firstborn child born to Rachel. However, that's not how it worked out. The firstborn child born to Rachel was not even one of the first 10 children born to Yaakov. What a complex and nasty web we can weave for ourselves. Unfortunately, Yaakov makes the same mistakes as his parents of showing favoritism in his household. While it's understandable that Yaakov was tricked into this incredibly complicated situation, the fact remains that favoritism can be very dangerous and can even lead to deadly consequences. The plot thickens when Yaakov decides to escape Lavan's household with his wife, his children, and all of his assets. After more than 22 years, Yaakov embarks on a journey back home. Lavan chases him and intercepts him along the way. Unbeknownst to Yaakov, his soulmate Rachel has stolen idols from Lavan and hidden them in her tent. Lavan accuses Yaakov of this theft, and Yaakov swears death upon whoever stole the property. The 2 men vow to separate from each other and return back to their father's households. And this is where the Torah portion ends for this week. Next week's Torah portion is called Vayishlach, and it addresses the question, what fate awaits Yaakov on his journey home.